Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. Deontay Wilder has thrown the $15 million contract to face Anthony Joshua in the trash, saying any deal will now have to be an even split or they just won't be fighting. So these are among the latest developments in the fallout that is the Wilder-Joshua fight falling apart. And why did it fall apart? Well, the WBA ordered Joshua face his mandatory challenger Alexander Povetkin because it believed negotiations for the Wilder-Joshua mega fight had just dragged on too long. So I'll get to the quotes and some thoughts along the way, and towards the end, some comments that Hearn has also been making about Wilder being the Instagram champ. Buckle in. Let's go. So talking to Boxing News, Deontay Wilder has told the publication, Hearn. We're done with that. Only thing that we needed was the belt to unify. The $50 million is off the table. The flat fee I was going to take, all that is off the table. If they're ever going to come back to us, it's going to be 50-50 straight down the line. I'm just glad the blindfolds are off people's eyes. Even casual fans see what's happened. For those that can't see, the ones I call Eddie Zombies, they can be a fool behind him. So I'll jump in here with a few thoughts. So first off, if Deontay Wilder thinks he's going to get a 50-50 split at this point in his career with his commercial value, he's dreaming. That is not happening. The fact is, his value right now without Anthony Joshua in the equation, it's actually not that much. He's probably going to get similar money to the Ortiz fight for whoever he fights next. And that was just over $2 million that he got for Ortiz. The commercial reality is Wilder cannot command 50% of the pie. Not yet. I mean, sure, there's an argument to say he's a champion, he deserves a fair split, but it just simply doesn't work like that in boxing. Deontay Wilder just does not have enough juice with the fans, enough juice with the broadcasters, enough juice with the sponsors. He is not a draw yet. And that may be sort of hard to hear for some fans, but his popularity is growing. And I would say that this campaign of calling Joshua out, all the niggle on social media that started about a year ago, then Wilder's dramatic victory over Luis Ortiz, and now months in the media with his name connected to Anthony Joshua's, it has grown Wilder's profile. He actually needs to use it as a springboard to fight and then beat some of the best names in the heavyweight division. If he can do that, his star power grows, and he will be able to command a better split of the purse in a fight with Anthony Joshua. But if he doesn't use it as a springboard, if he just goes on to face anything other than top contenders, he's going to struggle to make up any ground. At this point in his career, he's not a big draw in terms of pulling fans into the crowds. He doesn't get massive numbers. He's not on pay-per-view. That doesn't mean it can't happen. And he has spoken previously about wanting to now face the best, the toughest competition. And it's really up to him now to go out and get those names on his record. And given he is saying he wants to, his goal now is 51-0. He's currently 40-0. So 51-0 is his targeted goal. A decent chunk of the next 11 names for his record, if he is indeed to get to 51-0, it has to be top-tier opposition. Otherwise, he won't get the respect he desires. So I'll get back to some of the earlier quotes now from the Boxing News story. Joshua's team didn't want to fight me from the start. Joshua himself stated that it may take next year or the year after that. He's not confident in himself, and his team isn't confident in him either. Eddie said he would avoid me until Joshua's trainer thinks he's ready. They don't think he's ready, and the boy is never going to be ready. We were always the ones reaching out to them and keeping the communication. We're moving on now. My goal is to set a record of 51-0. I'm looking to clean out the heavyweight division. Joshua and I had conversations on the side. He asked me to have my team email certain things about the money. I said, sure, no problem. When we gave him the offer, he was super excited. He even took everyone on his team out to eat. We thought Joshua was more in control than he was, but we found out that he wasn't. It's sad to see him allow these people do what they are doing. He can't do nothing he wants to do. As you can see, they stopped him from doing any interviews about me because he would say one thing and they would say another. Joshua really wanted to fight for the $50 million. Next thing we know, they are talking about fighting in his country for less money. In the contract he sent, there was no date, no venue. If I beat Joshua, they get a rematch, but if they beat me, it's up to him. Just a bunch of bogus things. And finally, Eddie Hearn is a 37-year-old childish boy. He wants to be famous and have his popularity as a promoter. This is a game to him, but we're not about playing games. He contradicted himself many times. I sacrificed everything and took every offer that was thrown at me. But every time we reached a goal, they moved the goalpost. Okay, there's obviously quite a bit to unpack there. Those were Deontay Wilder's statements to Boxing News. But I'll first start by saying, when I repeatedly said in videos in the last sort of couple of months that each side was carefully positioning itself to make the other guy look like the bad guy if things went sideways, well, we are seeing it play out now in front of our eyes. Even days after the fight fell through, there is this campaign to make the other side look bad. And Wilder, he's been on social media and in the media constantly in recent days, and he has been able to create a persuasive narrative, and largely unopposed. What I mean by that is, sure, Eddie Hearn has been talking on Joshua's behalf, but at the end of the day, he's a promoter with a track record of being a bit slippery. So his words, they don't have as much gravitas as Anthony Joshua's would. And Anthony Joshua has been pretty silent on this whole debacle. And take Wilder's comments about his conversations with Joshua. That's not really something that Hearn can dispute to any extent, because he wasn't part of these private discussions, these private communications. But at the same time, we're only hearing one side, and that's Wilder's recollection, his version of the conversation, of events, and he is using it to smear Joshua and ultimately Hearn. The deal's gone bad. He's using these side conversations to try and make them look bad. And I'm not saying I don't believe Deontay Wilder, but in the circumstances, I have to be a little bit cynical because he's got a vested interest in pushing his version of events to suit the narrative that he's been pushing in the media. He's laying all the blame on Joshua and Hearn. And I've been saying this for a while. In any situation, especially one like this, with his back and forth, it's never just one side to blame. But if you say something often enough, like Wilder is doing now, more people will start to believe his version of events. He's yelling the loudest, he's getting the most headlines, people are hearing what he has to say. Some of it undoubtedly is true. Other bits of it, well, some of his statements, there's been a few contradictions, or quite a few, and even errors, like, for example, saying that he accepted all offers that came to him. Well, it's on the record that he declined the first offer that came to him, that was $12.5 million. But these are the things that sort of get swept away or omitted just because it doesn't suit the "they screwed me over" narrative. And let's face it, Eddie Hearn, he's been doing the exact same thing. He will use whatever information suits the story, but he will omit things that sort of are a bit of a weak point for his argument. So I'm going to say it again. Fact is, both sides are to blame here. They haggled over money and fight details for just far too long. And don't go asking me or telling me which one is more to blame, because we don't actually know all the details in the situation. We only know what is being put out there. There's stuff that's happened behind the scenes that we are not aware of. But there is blame to be apportioned on both sides. Okay, so in respect of Hearn being a 37-year-old childish boy who wants to be famous and have a popularity as a promoter, I did actually have a bit of a laugh at that because I think it's mostly true. Hearn loves being the front man. He loves having attention that comes with being in the media, being a sort of focal point for IFL interviews and other bits and pieces. Eddie Hearn is everywhere. He is actually quite a big figure in boxing these days. But clearly he is doing something right, because he actually has double the Twitter following than Deontay Wilder. 600 and something thousand to Deontay Wilder's 300 and something thousand. And that's not a knock on Wilder, but it's a testament to Hearn's shameless self-promotion. But I have wondered, what impact will all this messiness that's gone on in recent days, what impact is it going to have on Eddie Hearn trying to sign fighters, American fighters, to fight on the DAZN streaming service that Perform Group is launching into the United States? I mean, this whole situation, it's not exactly the best advert, having the WBC champion claiming you're a snake and that you've been dicking them around, screwing them around for some months, and a fight has fallen through. For some fighters, it could potentially have a bearing on what they do, and Deontay Wilder has spoken about that before. He's sort of spoken about it in more categoric terms, saying no one will sign with him. But the fact is, I think there will be some people that sign with Hearn, regardless of what's happened, for the money, knowing that they don't have any better options available to them, promotion or money-wise, for whatever the reasons are in their backstory. Hearn will get some fighters, but he's probably not going to get everything that he wants. But that was never going to be the case anyway. But how badly Hearn has blotted his copybook for DAZN, it remains to be seen here. But he hasn't given up on trolling Deontay Wilder just yet. So he told Sky Sports, Anthony Joshua has got 4 World Championship belts. So it's really 3, take away the IBO. Deontay Wilder has got 1. We're going to make him a new belt. It's called the Instagram World Champion. Now we get to see the truth. They seem so devastated about not getting the Anthony Joshua fight, and that we definitely don't want the fight. The contract is still live, it's still valid, it's still sitting on your manager's desk. Apparently you only had 2 minor comments that you couldn't even send us. So send them now or sign the contract, and we will sign the contract before your ink is dry. So stop fooling the fans and ask the fans and the media to put pressure on Deontay Wilder. Because if you really want this fight, it's still there, sign it. April 13th at Wembley Stadium, Deontay Wilder can give the fans what they want. So don't worry about us. Certainly don't worry about Anthony Joshua. He will fight any man. And those were Eddie Hearn's statements. I'm not sure that contract is on a desk anymore. It sounds like it's more in the rubbish bin, but we'll have to see where this goes. But I'm not expecting that this is over yet. There will be different bits and pieces that will keep getting pushed out and floated out in the media, social media, for months to come. It's going to keep stoking this growing rivalry between Wilder and Joshua. So the phony war, it will continue. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment loud and often, hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.